sudden appearance the galaxy had enjoyed a long time of peace. Trade routes were open, borders were stable, and the great empire ruled without challenge. Its fleets patrolled the stars with confidence, knowing no force could stand against them. For generations, no enemy had dared to appear near Imperial space. At the edge of the known galaxy, an Imperial monitoring station floated quietly. Sensors scanned empty space again and again. Finding nothing unusual, officers relaxed, talking about routine reports and minor patrol updates. This sector had been silent for decades. Then, without warning, every alarm activated at once. Lights flashed red across the station. Officers froze as screens filled with impossible readings. Something massive had appeared out of nowhere. Not one ship, not a fleet using known jump gates, but hundreds of vessels, already inside Imperial space. They had arrived without warning, without signals, without permission. The officer in command stared at the display, struggling to understand. The ships were dark, silent, and perfectly aligned. No standard energy signatures, no familiar designer. They simply existed, like shadows carved into space. A message was sent immediately to the Imperial command. Unknown fleet detected. Sudden appearance inside secured territory. Origin unknown. Within minutes, the Empire's highest commanders gathered in a secure chamber. Massive holograms showed the silent fleet hovering motionless. Some officers laughed nervously, others frowned. "This must be a mistake," one said. "No fleet can bypass our defenses," another replied. The Emperor himself leaned forward, studying the image. "Do they send a message?" he asked calmly. No response. "Your Majesty," an aide answered. They remained completely silent. The silence was what unsettled them most. No demands, no threats, no greetings. Every known species announced itself in some way, but this fleet did nothing. Imperial analysts began to study the ships. "They are smaller than our battleships," one expert noted. "Their weapons are not visible," said another. A confident smile spread through the room. "Then they are weak," an admiral declared. Orders were given to deploy observation. Fleets, Imperial warships moved into position, surrounding the newcomers from a safe distance. Still, the strange fleet did not react. They did not move. They did not speak. They simply waited. Across the Empire, news spread quickly. Civilians watched broadcasts showing the mysterious ships. Speculation filled every channel. Some believed it was a lost species. Others thought it was a failed invasion. Only a few veterans felt uneasy. They had learned long ago that true danger rarely announced itself. One old commander whispered, "Silence is not weakness." At last, the Emperor gave the order. "Test their response," he said. A single Imperial cruiser moved forward, weapons charging slowly, energy built along its cannons. Bright and powerful, the silent fleet remained still. No shields appeared, no weapons powered up. No message was sent. The Imperial cruiser fired. A blazing beam crossed space and struck the unknown ship. Light and fire filled the screen. Officers waited for wreckage. 4 explosions. 4 proof of victory. As the energy faded, the image cleared. The unknown ship was still there, untouched, unmoved, unchanged. The chamber fell silent. No one spoke. No one smiled anymore. And then, for the first time since their arrival, the unknown fleet began to move. The Empire strikes first. The Imperial chamber was silent after the failed attack. Officers stared at the hologram, their confidence shaken. The unknown ships remained intact, floating calmly in Imperial space. No damage, no movement, no reply. The Emperor slowly stood from his throne. His voice was calm, but cold. "This changes nothing," he said. "No fleet resists Imperial fire." Orders were sent across the Empire instantly. Battle fleets were activated from nearby systems. Massive warships moved into position. Weapons powered up. Shields expanded. Engines roared. The Empire had fought countless wars. Rebellions, invasions, rival powers, all had fallen before its strength. This unknown fleet would be no different. At least, that was what they believed. Imperial admirals formed a wide attack formation. Surrounding the silent ships from every direction, there would be no escape, no retreat. Only total destruction. Still, the unknown fleet did nothing. No shields, no warnings, no movement. Their silence felt heavy, almost deliberate, as if they were waiting for something. Civilian broadcasts were cut. Only military channels remained open. Across the Empire, citizens felt a strange tension. They had never seen their leaders hesitate before. The Emperor raised his hand once more. "Full strike," he commanded. No restraint. Space lit up instantly. Hundreds of Imperial ships fired together. Beams, missiles, plasma waves crossed the void. The stars themselves seemed to shake. The unknown fleet disappeared behind a wall of fire. Explosions filled every screen. Imperial officers began to relax. Some even smiled. "There," one admiral said. "Nothing survives that." Seconds passed, then more seconds. The fire slowly faded. Sensors cleared. What remained on the screen froze every breath in the room. The unknown ships were still there, not damaged, not scattered, not destroyed. They had not even changed formation. Shock spread through the chamber. "That is impossible," an officer whispered. "Our strongest weapons hit them directly. They should be gone." Before anyone could respond, something changed. The unknown fleet finally reacted. Dark shapes began to move, slow and controlled. Their formation shifted with perfect precision. Imperial sensors struggled to track them. Energy readings spiked beyond known limits. "This technology is not in our records," analysts reported. Fear began to replace confidence. The Emperor's expression hardened. "Attack again," he ordered. "They must fall." But the second strike never came, because the unknown fleet sent its first message. A single transmission, short and clear, translated instantly across all channels. "We are human. We did not come to conquer. We came because you fired first." The chamber exploded into noise. Humans, the name carried little meaning. To the Empire, a distant species, rarely seen, rarely involved. Admirals argued loudly. How can such a species build this fleet? They were never a threat. They were ignored. The Emperor raised his hand again. Silence returned. "Prepare all fleets," he said. "If they fight, we will fight harder, outside." The human ships continued to move, slowly, calmly, without fear. They did not chase. They did not threaten. They simply positioned themselves, as if the Empire's response no longer mattered. And deep within Imperial command, for the first time in generations, the Empire began to understand a terrible truth. They had not stopped the threat, they had awakened it. The space between the two fleets grew strangely quiet after the Empire's massive attack. No explosion followed, no wreckage drifted, only silence remained, heavy and uncomfortable. The human fleet moved slowly. Ships adjusted their positions with smooth precision. No panic, no sudden movements. They acted as if the battle had already been decided. Imperial commanders watched. "Closely, they are retreating," one officer said hopefully. "No," replied a senior admiral. "They are preparing." The Emperor studied the hologram carefully. The human ships were not charging weapons. They were not raising shields. Instead, they formed a wide defensive arc, protective, controlled, deliberate. Imperial analysts struggled to understand. "This formation makes no sense," one said. "They leave openings, they expose flanks," but the humans did not look worried. Across the Empire, citizens waited in fear. News channels whispered of uncertainty. For the first time, the Empire had no clear answer. Its power had failed to produce results. Inside the human flagship, the bridge was calm. Human officers spoke in low voices. Data moved across their screens. Targets were marked. Routes calculated. Risks measured. The human commander stood silently, hands behind his back. He watched the Empire's fleet with steady eyes. "They're afraid now," he said quietly. "They just do not know it yet." The human fleet did not rush. They did not need to. Time worked in their favor. Every second allowed them to read. The enemy, Imperial admirals, grew impatient. "Why are they not attacking?" One shouted, "Are they mocking us?" Another slammed his console. "This silence is unbearable." The Empire launched small probe ships, fast and aggressive. They moved toward the human formation, testing reactions, searching for weakness. The probes crossed into human range. Still no response. Imperial confidence rose slightly. "They hesitate," an officer said. Then the probes vanished. No explosion, no sound. They simply disappeared from the sensors. Confusion spread instantly. Where did they go? Did they jump away? No jump signatures detected. Human ships continued to drift calmly. As if nothing had happened, Imperial fear deepened. Something unseen had destroyed the probes. The Emperor clenched his fists. "This is psychological warfare," he said. They want us afraid, but the truth was worse. Humans were not trying to scare the Empire. They were still holding back inside the human fleet. Weapon systems remained partially locked. Power was limited. Fire control was restrained. They had rules. Civilian zones confirmed, an officer reported. Empire fleets using them as cover. The human commander nodded slowly. Then we wait, he replied. This confused the Empire even more. Why delay victory? Why not strike now? Why allow the Empire time to regroup? Because humans did not fight like empires. They fought like survivors. They waited for the right moment, not the loud one. Imperial fleets began to reposition, attempting to tighten their formation, but every move was tracked, every weakness recorded. The human commander finally turned to his crew. Prepare, Phase 2, he said calmly. Release restrictions across the human fleet. Systems changed. Status, indicators, shifted from yellow to red. Weapons unlocked quietly. Energy levels began to rise. Imperial sensors screamed warnings. Unknown power spikes flooded their screens. This is not normal, analysts shouted. They are changing. The human ships stopped drifting. For the first time, they faced the Empire directly. Perfect alignment. Perfect silence. The calm was gone. The storm was coming. And the Empire did not realize it yet, but the moment humans decided to respond, the war would already be over. The moment the human fleet changed formation, the Empire reacted instantly. Imperial admirals shouted orders across command channels. This is it, one of them said. They are finally attacking. The Emperor rose from his seat, his voice sharp and firm. All fleets, engage immediately. Show them the full power of the Empire. The Imperial Armada surged forward. Massive ships advanced in tight formations, weapons charged at maximum output. Shields overlapped into a single wall of light. The Empire had decided to crush the humans with force alone. Space ignited as thousands of weapons fired together. Beams of energy crossed the void, like burning lines. Missiles followed, filling space with fire and shockwaves. The attack was overwhelming, loud, and relentless. To Imperial eyes, nothing could survive such power. The human fleet did not scatter. They did not retreat. They did not rush forward. They absorbed the first wave calmly. Shields flared once, softly, then stabilized. Human ships remained in position, untouched. Imperial confidence turned into anger. Fire again, an admiral shouted. Do not stop. Another wave struck the humans, stronger than the first. Still, the human fleet held. Inside the human command ship, the atmosphere was calm. Officers monitored data, adjusting values by small amounts. The human commander spoke quietly, energy within limits. Enemy patterns confirmed. Then he gave the order, return fire. The response was nothing like the Empire expected. No massive explosion, no wild barrage, just precise, focused strikes. Thin beams of human energy weapons cut through space. They slipped through Imperial shields as if they were not there. One ship lost power instantly. Another went dark and drifted away. Then another, and another. Imperial formations began to break. Shields are failing, someone shouted. Our systems are shutting down. No damage alarms. They're disabling us. Panic spread quickly. The Empire had never faced an enemy that chose control over destruction. Human ships moved forward slowly now, not chasing, not rushing, simply advancing. The Empire tried to adapt. New formations were ordered, weapons recalibrated, tactics rewritten in real time. It changed nothing. Every time the Empire fired, humans adjusted. Every time the Empire moved, humans were already there. Their shots were fewer, but perfect. Each one removed a ship from the fight. The Emperor watched in silence, his fists clenched. This cannot be happening, he whispered. The Imperial flagship moved forward. Larger than all others, weapons charged beyond safe limits. If anything could break the humans, it was this ship. The flagship fired. A beam brighter than a star surged forward. It struck the human line directly. Space bent under the force. When the light faded, the human ships were still there, unmoved, unbroken. The response came instantly. Multiple human ships locked onto the flagship. A single coordinated strike followed. The flagship's shields collapsed. Its engines failed. Its weapons shut down. The greatest symbol of Imperial power drifted helplessly, silent, defeated. across the battlefield. Imperial ships began to retreat. Some jumped away, others powered down. The Empire had fought back once more, with everything it had, and it had changed nothing. The human fleet slowed and stopped. They did not chase the retreating ships. They did not celebrate. They simply held position. The message was clear. The Empire had reached the limit of its strength, and humanity had not even reached theirs. The battlefield slowly fell silent. Imperial ships drifted powerless across the stars. Some retreated in panic, others remained frozen, unable to fight. The Empire had used everything it had, and still, the humans stood untouched. Inside the Imperial command chamber, no one spoke. The great screens showed defeat from every angle. Admirals lowered their heads, officers avoided eye contact. The Emperor stared at the image of the human fleet, motionless and calm. "For centuries," he said slowly, "no enemy has ever stood before us like this. We fought back again, and it changed nothing." The words felt heavy. The Empire had always believed power alone decided wars. More ships, bigger weapons, louder attacks. That belief had built their rule across the galaxy, but now it was broken. A surviving Imperial admiral spoke carefully. "They did not fight for dominance, they fought for control. They did not destroy us, they stopped us." This confused the Empire more than defeat itself. Why spare enemies? Why avoid full destruction? Why stop when total victory was possible? The Emperor turned to the advisors. "Who are these humans?" he asked quietly. "Why do they fight like this?" Data appeared on the screens. Human history, harsh planets, constant danger, endless struggle, worlds with storms, predators, wars, and disasters. A species that survived by adapting, not conquering. "They are not born into safety," an analyst said. "They earn survival every day. They fight because they must. Not to rule, but to endure, far from Imperial space." Inside the human command ship, the mood was steady. No cheering, no celebration, just quiet focus. The human commander watched the damaged Imperial fleet. "They will retreat," he said calmly. "They have learned what they needed to learn." An officer asked quietly, "Should we pursue them?" The commander shook his head. "No. We did not come to destroy an empire. We came to stop a threat." This was the truth the Empire could not understand. Humans did not fight for pride. They did not fight for fear. They fought because allowing danger to grow was worse than facing it. A single message was sent from the human fleet. Clear, calm, and simple. "We did not come to conquer. We responded. Do not force us to respond again." The message spread across Imperial space. Citizens heard it. Soldiers heard it. Leaders heard it. Fear was replaced by something new. Respect, understanding, and a deep sense of warning. The Empire realized its greatest mistake. It had judged humans by size, by distance, by silence. It had mistaken calm for weakness, control for hesitation. But humans were not weak. They were restrained, and restraint, when broken, revealed something unstoppable. The Emperor finally lowered his head. "End all attacks," he ordered. "Stand down." Across the stars, Imperial weapons powered down. The war was over, not because the Empire surrendered in battle, but because it understood it could never win. The humans held their position a moment longer, then slowly turned away, leaving the Empire alive, defeated, and changed forever. The Empire had fought back once more, with everything it had, and in the end, it changed nothing. The war ended without celebration. No victory songs echoed through space, no banners were raised. The human fleet simply moved away from Imperial territory, calm and silent, across the galaxy. The news spread fast. The great empire had fought with everything it had, and still, it had failed. Not crushed, not destroyed, but stopped. Other empires watched the recordings again and again. Human ships holding formation, human weapons striking with control, human commanders choosing restraint over destruction. Fear moved through the stars, but it was not blind fear. It was understanding. The Galactic Council gathered in emergency session. Leaders from many species filled the chamber, some nervous, some curious, some deeply shaken. They did not conquer. One delegate said, they could have, but they chose not to. Another leader leaned forward slowly. That makes them more dangerous than any empire. That seeks control can be resisted, but power that chooses restraint must be respected. Records of human history were opened fully. Death worlds, high gravity, unstable climates, endless conflict. Survival was never guaranteed for humans. They earned every generation through struggle. They were shaped by hardship, a council historian said. While we built safety, they built strength. While we avoided pain, they learned to endure it. The truth became clear. Humans did not rise suddenly. They had always been like this. The galaxy had simply never forced them to respond. Before, within imperial space, the empire changed. Borders were pulled back, fleets reduced, doctrine rewritten. The emperor addressed his people, his voice calm but heavy. We mistook silence for weakness. We mistook restraint for fear. We were wrong. He paused, then continued. The humans did not defeat us to rule us. They defeated our belief that power alone decides fate. Among the stars, smaller civilizations felt something new, hope, for the first time. There was a force that stopped empires without replacing them. A protector that did not demand loyalty. A guardian that did not seek worship. Human ships returned to their distant systems. No announcements, no threats, no demands. Inside the human command fleet, the mood was steady. The mission was complete. Nothing more was required. An officer asked quietly, "Do you think they will?" Remember, the human commander looked out at the stars. "They will," he said. Survival teaches better than fear. Across the galaxy, new rules formed without being written. Empires thought